If I still had hair, the ending of this episode would have me pulling it out right now. Hit the intro. Damn it, Stargirl, you were this close. This close to having a good episode. Everything was falling into place. The characters were saying the right things. Courtney looked like she'd learned a valuable lesson. I was ready. I was all set to give this episode a thumbs up. But then, in the last 30 seconds, you ruined it. You tripped over your own feet one step from the finish line. If you just cut those last 30 frickin' seconds, this whole thing could have turned out so differently. Unbelievable. And what bugs me the most about this is that Stargirl just came closer to delivering a legitimately good episode than Batwoman ever did in its entire first season, but they just couldn't help themselves. And why? Well, I'll save that part for last. For now, we start at the beginning. 8 years ago. This is backstory for Icicle. We see him, his parents, and his son all gathered around his wife's bed. She's gravely ill with something and doesn't have much time. The son gives her a picture he drew of one of her flowers. She tells him to keep drawing, but she's deteriorating fast, so he gets scared and runs out of the room. So Icicle says that he's gonna make the world pay for what it did to her. But she tells him no, don't do that. Continue your mission. Fix the country. Make the world safe for our boy. And if anyone tries to stop you, destroy them. And then she dies. Icicle is devastated, so he runs outside into the flower garden in the yard and freezes everything. This is a really good setup. Right out of the gate, they make Icicle weirdly sympathetic, immediately followed by showing how driven he is to achieve his goals and what his motivation is. We learn a lot about Icicle here, surprisingly. He really loves his wife, really loves his son, but he's still evil. But not in a mwah-ha-ha, I'm taking over the world kind of way. He seems to think that he's doing the right thing. And some of the best villains often do, so I'm intrigued. Cut to Courtney packing her Stargirl suit into her backpack before she heads to school. Seems to me it would be less conspicuous if she wore it under her clothes, but whatever. And she doesn't want Pat driving her to school because they have to find the rest of the Injustice Society of America, who could be hiding here in town somewhere like Brainwave was. She's still hell-bent on going after these dirtbags ASAP, and she's not being shy about it. And thank God for Pat, because at least one of them has to act like a real person here. Courtney's being cocky and headstrong to the point of idiocy, while Pat is the one saying all the logical things like, "Aren't you even a little scared? I mean, we did almost get killed the other night, but they weren't killed." So Courtney thinks there's no reason to be scared. After all, she is Starman's daughter, dammit. She just wants to get out there and kick their asses. Stupid Pat, wanting to be careful and come up with a plan before they fight dangerous supervillains. Who the hell does he think he is? Not Starman's daughter, that's for damn sure. By the way, did you guys know that Courtney thinks she's Starman's daughter? If you didn't, don't worry. The episode will only remind you about 6 dozen times. This is gonna be a running theme in the episode. Pat having logical, normal reactions to things and generally responding to them in a reasonable, intelligent way, and Courtney being so desperate to charge headfirst into danger that she never even considers the consequences. And that's a fine setup if your intention is to humble Courtney, but as we'll find out later, I don't think that's what the point of this was. And even though Pat is the one being smart about this, the episode will continuously take Courtney's side even though she's the one acting like an idiot. Eventually, Pat is able to convince Courtney to go to school while he gathers information like a sane person, though she still orders him to pull her out of class the second he finds something. So, credit to Pat, I guess. Courtney's still bossing him around, but he is trying to assert himself more. She's just not really listening to him. Baby steps. Baby steps. Cut to Brainwave's room at the hospital. The asshole jock is still there and seems to move a coffee cup with his mind. And Icicle is outside the room watching this, so he could be considering this kid as a new recruit. Icicle calls some guy named William Zarek, a former colleague from the Injustice Society as it turns out, but he doesn't take the call. Then William's son Joey comes out of the house with the words "punch me" tattooed on his face. Or he might as well have anyway, because holy crap, would this kid have gotten beaten up at any other high school in America? Joey is some kind of wannabe magician and shows William a card trick. William, to his credit, seems like a good dad, encourages his boy, gives him some pointers, and they seem really close. Then Icicle calls again, and William still won't answer. Cut to the high school, where all the kids are amazed that the school sign was destroyed during the night, while Courtney, master of subtlety that she is, walks right past the sign looking as suspicious as she possibly can. Then she runs into Joey, or rather, Joey kind of sneaks up on her like a huge weirdo. Also, Joey is wearing a top hat, and his stage name is Zarek the Great, because someone played a cruel prank on him and told him that this is what girls are into. So Courtney humors the poor kid while he shows her a card trick. She picks a card, he guesses the wrong one, but she spares him some embarrassment, says he got the right one, and everyone in the hallway applauds like it's the coolest thing they've ever seen. Scenes like this make me think the entire writing staff of this show skipped high school completely, because they seem to have no idea whatsoever how high school teenagers behave. In any normal high school, Joey, bless his heart, would be the one sitting at the loser's table, not the pretty blonde chick. I mean, forget about Icicle's big plan. How the kid in the top hat made it through this scene without someone pulling his underwear so far up his crack that he could floss his teeth with it is the biggest mystery on this show right now, bar none. Then Courtney notices some creepy dude looking at her, in a way that I don't think was supposed to be creepy, but was anyway, and somebody wrote "slut" on the locker of one of the kids from the loser's table. Courtney tries to help her, but the girl wants nothing to do with her. Which was funny. Something tells me Courtney doesn't hear that a lot. Cut to Pat going to see Brainwave. He gets some info from the doctor, and it turns out that it wasn't Pat and Courtney who dropped Brainwave off at the hospital. Somebody else brought him in and changed him out of his supervillain costume, which means there are more members of the Injustice Society in town. It also means that after they beat Brainwave, Pat and Courtney apparently just left him there unconscious in the parking lot when he could have woken up at any time for all they knew. Really? They didn't think to call the authorities to come pick him up or anything? Pat used to be a superhero sidekick. He must know somebody who does that. Does Amanda Waller exist in this universe? I'm sure she'd have gladly taken him off their hands. For God's sake. Hey, how about a good scene? Here we go. Icicle is waiting for William at his house. They haven't seen each other in a while, and their relationship has grown a bit icy. See what I did there? Icicle wants to know why William didn't call him about the Stargirl, because he was supposed to handle things while Icicle was gone. We do find out that William was the one who got Brainwave to the hospital and covered up that whole mess, so he's still down for some supervillainy, but Icicle feels that he thinks too small. Also, Icicle has hunted down everyone who exposed his wife to the toxin that killed her, and he swore that he would combat injustice for everyone's children. William says there's nothing more important to him than his, and Icicle accepts this. He mentions something called Project New America, which is his destiny, and he wants it to be William's too, but Icicle is back in charge now, and he'll take care of this Stargirl. Gotta say, I really like the actor playing Icicle. He conveys menace very well. It's easy to see why people are afraid of this guy. And he doesn't need a lot of dialogue to do it either. It just comes across naturally. Casting department did a great job filling this role. Cut to Pat getting a phone call from one of Mike's teachers. Mike was caught playing video games in class, so Pat tells him a story about how he used to play video games all the time too, until his dad made him get a paper route. And that's what Mike's gonna do now. Get a paper route. Because those are still a thing. Who knew? This better go somewhere interesting. If I had to guess, I would say that Mike's video game obsession builds to him commandeering the stripe armor via video game controller at a crucial moment. Hopefully it's something not as silly as that, but they've got to do something with this character because Mike is just taking up space right now. Then we cut to Town Hall, I think. Icicle is there. I don't know what his job is exactly, but he seems to be in charge. He's addressing everybody and talks about how he's traveled the country and found many people in need, and they're gonna help all those people just like they're gonna help Blue Valley, Nebraska. We're gonna rebuild America, he says. That other Injustice Society guy from last week is there too, and he goes over how they're gonna continue the revitalization of downtown by building a bunch of new businesses on some old street. Seems like a good idea, but Barbara, that's Courtney's mom, she has reservations. She says that what Icicle has done with the town has been incredible. I'll take her word for it because we haven't seen what he's done and they've barely told us about it. But when she was a kid, that area used to be a theater. Icicle's crony points out that the theater operated at a loss for years, but Icicle likes this idea for some reason and thinks it would be great for the community. How? By going out of business again? Did you miss the part about it operating at a loss? Even Barbara admits that it's not the most financially practical thing they could do. Wasn't the whole point of this project to fix the town's economy, or am I missing something? Cut back to the school where Courtney sees the loser with the slut locker, whose name is Yolanda, getting hassled by some asshole chicks. Some good Samaritan painted flowers over the slut graffiti, thus making it harder for Yolanda to be slut-shamed, and the asshole chicks will have none of that because Yolanda dated the asshole jock knowing that asshole chick number 1 liked him. And they try to pull this mean girl shtick on her. You're a nobody, I'm a somebody. Really scintillating dialogue. So Courtney jumps in to put a stop to the slut-shaming. That sets women back like 50 years. And these writers really don't know how teenagers talk at all. So the asshole chicks leave. Courtney tries to follow them, but Yolanda stops her. She's really embarrassed and thinks Courtney is just making it worse. And then she leaves, presumably to go somewhere private and retreat back into her shell like a frightened turtle. Later on during class, Courtney sees the creepy guy from earlier drawing flowers in his math book, and realizes that he must have been the one who painted the flowers on the locker. Suddenly, he doesn't seem so creepy anymore, because artists are super cute, I guess, and she introduces herself. After school, she's walking home through the park when it miraculously gets really cold, and she discovers a pile of snow on the ground in the shape of a big star. She immediately runs home to get Pat. She thinks this is a sign from Icicle, who killed Starman, who was Courtney's dad, by the way, and she wants to go get him. And Pat's like, hold on, that's clearly a trap. Let's think about this for a minute. But the suggestion of thinking about her actions before she does something stupid really pisses Courtney off. Then the cosmic staff floats in, ready to kick some ass, which means that Pat's outvoted. Also, Mike came down for food, even though Pat confined him to his room, so Pat gives him money to go to the store to get rid of him. So a minute ago, Mike was grounded, and now he gets to go out unsupervised with a pocket full of money. Mike might be the smartest person in this scene, and Courtney is not giving him much competition. So Stargirl and Stripe suit up and fly to the park ready to throw down, but very quickly Icicle sneak attacks them from behind and freezes the Stripe armor, which seems dumb to me. If Pat was smart enough to build this thing, wouldn't he have built some kind of safeguard to protect against an attack of intense cold, knowing that Icicle was one of the villains he built the armor to fight? I guess not. Now Stripe is frozen up, and rather than wait a few seconds for Pat to unfreeze himself, Courtney runs after Icicle alone. And here's where it gets good, because while you may have expected this to be setting up another Yas Queen Slay moment for Stargirl, it's actually something different. Instead, Icicle sneak attacks her again, she goes down, the staff malfunctions, and then Icicle appears. And it's great. He doesn't monologue, he doesn't give her a chance to fight back or get away or anything. He just struts in all iced up like a fucking boss, and he's like, "Hi, you're dead now." He's about to finish her off, there's nothing Courtney can do, and she's only saved at the last moment by Pat fisting Icicle. Not like that. The arm cannon thing. It shoots Stripe's fist like a missile. So it blasts Icicle across the lake, and he crashes on some bridge. At the same time that a school bus is crossing. So because evil is bad, Icicle figures, hey, there's some people I can kill. So he ices up the bridge, causing the bus to swerve out of control, and it's only saved from falling into the water when Pat flies in and lifts the bus back onto the bridge. Hot damn, Pat gets to be really useful in this scene. I was pleasantly surprised. The problem is the geography of the scene gets very confused all of a sudden. Courtney lights up the staff to blind the kids in the bus so they don't see Stripe, but Courtney is all the way across the lake at this point. That's like hundreds of yards away. Does the cosmic staff have a miniature sun inside it or something? So all the kids evacuate the van, Joey being among them. Then he takes out his playing cards, because that's just what you do when you've almost died in a horrific bus accident. You do card tricks. And Icicle, who seemed to retreat to the forest off-screen, uses a freeze breath thing to blow one of the cards into the path of a truck coming down the bridge. This truck, which has not slowed down, even though there's a bus accident up ahead and the entire bridge is iced up. Joey walks into the path of the truck to retrieve his card, and splat. Things take a very dark turn all of a sudden. And I'm not gonna lie, I really liked it. And Courtney screams for Joey, and I don't know how the hell she even saw this when she's so far away. Girl must have eyes like a frickin' hawk. At this point, they really had me fooled. 2 episodes of Courtney being glorified with victories handed to her way too easily have blown up in her face. She got cocky, rushed to face Icicle without thinking, walked right into a trap, and now someone is dead because of it. I really thought Courtney was about to get the humbling experience that I said she needed last time, and I was getting excited. And the way the episode follows this up is good. They're back at the garage, Courtney's crying, looks really defeated. She tries to say they need to go back after Icicle, but she can't even bring herself to finish the sentence. Yes! This is what the character needed. Struggles, adversity, real stakes, learning from failure. The episode is on the right track, and I'm here for it. And Pat knows that if ever there was a chance Courtney might listen to him, it's now. So he takes her to the JSA's old headquarters. It's actually a really cool place. There's memorials to all the members who died, and all their costumes and stuff are there, including Dr. Midnight's owl, which has just been sitting there for years waiting for Dr. Midnight to come back. I have no idea who's been feeding that owl this whole time. But here's where we find out just how maddeningly stubborn Courtney really is. I think it's meant to be more like earnestness and optimism, but it just comes off like her being so pig-headed that you just want to smack her upside the head. Pat talks about how his friends were the world's greatest heroes, and the Injustice Society killed them all, and that's why the 2 of them don't stand a chance. But Courtney thinks that they would stand a chance if they got help. They could find new heroes to take the place of the old heroes, just like she took the place of Starman, who is totally 100% Courtney's dad, by the way. And Pat may have the patience of a fucking saint, but he finally gets a little angry with Courtney here. Better late than never, I guess. He explains that she has no idea how dangerous all this stuff is, how dangerous this life is, and he's not wrong. A kid died today because Courtney was so desperate to fight Icicle that she played right into his hand. And now, instead of considering how someone was killed because she was a reckless idiot, she just wants to get out there and do it again. This time putting even more people in danger. She's still not even thinking about the consequences. She's just trying to twist everything around to fit her own narrative. A kid died today, and that's why we have to keep going, because this is our destiny. That's the only thing on her mind. I legit want to strangle this girl right now. Courtney showing remorse that her actions led to tragedy lasted all of 1 scene. They couldn't even keep it going until the end of the episode. We're in Kate Kane territory right now, and I don't think a comparison like that is going to do either of them any favors. But finally, Pat manages to shut her down by saying that's what Starman told him the day he died. So no more Stargirl and Stripe until he says so. And for once, Courtney doesn't argue with him. So you figure maybe she just needed to burn off the last of her stubbornness. Maybe she's listening. Maybe she's finally thinking now. Just wait for it. Joey's parents get the news in a really well done scene. They're crushed, and part of this is done with the audio muted, which makes it pretty powerful actually. So William runs to his wall safe and pulls out a magic wand, and then runs off to Icicle's house. He demands to know if it was an accident, or if Icicle intended to kill his son, but he gets in too close and is turned into a human popsicle for his trouble. Icicle says that what he did was for William's son, and I don't get the logic on that one, but this is what he believes. And then the scene gets funny, because Icicle's parents walk in, and they're so completely unfazed by the sight of a frozen corpse on the floor of their living room, it's hysterical. This must legitimately happen to them all the time. Like, so often, it's not even out of the ordinary anymore. Oh, great. Another dead body. Right after we vacuumed in here. Thanks a lot, son. Yeah, we'll clean it up. You just go to work and do whatever it is that you do when you're not killing people. Icicle's parents must lead very interesting lives if they're so unconcerned about this type of stuff. Is it wrong that I want to see a backstory episode about them now? So William's death is made to look like a heart attack. How? Beats the hell out of me. Barbara is on the city council now, or whatever that is that Icicle does in his day job. She has to work late, so she misses family dinner. And then the creepy artsy kid, whose name is Cameron, comes home from Joey's memorial, and we find out that he is Icicle's son. If that comes as much of a surprise to you, you probably weren't paying attention. Also, Icicle's parents tell him not to worry, that what he's doing will keep Cameron safe, that Project New America will keep everyone safe, and the only thing missing from the scene was them saying this while chilling their drinks with ice cubes made from William's frozen remains. What? And in what should have been the final scene, Courtney sits quietly by her window with one of Joey's playing cards, just thinking about everything that happened, and maybe, just maybe, thinking about what she could have done differently to prevent this tragic death. Though that might be wishful thinking on my part. If it had ended there, I would have felt really good about this episode. But it doesn't. Which brings us to the last 30 seconds, where Courtney raids the JSA headquarters, steals all the JSA gear, which Pat just pointed out is incredibly dangerous and she has no idea how any of it even works, and she says, "Let's do some recruiting!" They just couldn't help themselves. They were so close to pulling this off. But it was all a smokescreen. It was all a ruse to make us think that Courtney had learned something, make us think that she had gained some badly needed perspective and humility, but then at the last second the smoke clears and they reveal that she has actually learned nothing whatsoever. I don't know what these writers are thinking, because not only does their heroine not seem to give a shit that someone died because of her, but she seems dead set on making the same mistakes all over again. And it's especially irritating because all episode long, Pat is making smart decisions, giving Courtney good advice that she should be listening to, that might have prevented Joey's death if she had listened to him, and just when the writers tease that she might start listening to him, it lasts all of one scene, and then she just does whatever the hell she wants again. And I don't know about you guys, but I have a very bad feeling about this recruiting thing. Courtney doesn't even know anyone in town. So what? Is she just gonna end up recruiting the other kids at the losers table? Is that where this is going? Because that would give us a team of untrained teenage rookies led by a reckless, headstrong, pig-headed idiot who refuses to take advice from the one person on the team who actually knows what being a superhero is like. Well, that sounds like a recipe for success if ever I heard one. Okay, this is what I think is going on here. Jeff Johns is the showrunner, I believe. Stargirl is his baby. Courtney was even based on his late sister. I think that because he has such a personal connection to the character, that he's intent on glorifying her as much as he can. And that's why we're seeing her bounce back from adversity so quickly. Why she doesn't blame herself for Joey's death. Why she doesn't start doubting herself. Why she doesn't even consider that she may have made a mistake. Because Courtney is tied to Johns' sister, and he's conflating the two of them, and maybe he thinks that by glorifying one, he can glorify the other. And while that is understandable, it becomes an issue if he can't write this character in an unbiased way. And look what happened here. A whole bus full of kids almost died. Courtney almost died herself. One kid did die, all because Courtney was so dead set on facing Icicle that she never stopped to think about what she was doing. The only reason why things didn't go a lot worse is because Pat was there. Courtney, and more disturbingly the writers too, refuses to even consider where she went wrong, and most alarmingly of all, the episode seems to take her side on that issue. And the sad part is that I don't think the writers intended it to be like this. I think they just wanted Courtney to be really earnest and heroic and have that never give up attitude, but something is not translating, and instead it comes off like she's dangerously stubborn and arrogant, which coming off of Batwoman is a character trait I'd really prefer to avoid. That being said, there were actually some strong positives here. This was the best episode yet for Pat. Courtney flat out sucked at superheroing this week, so Pat had to save the day not once, but twice. He started to show more of a backbone, and he was constantly telling Courtney what the smart thing to do would be. She's still not listening to him, but that's not his fault. Also, the show hit a home run with Icicle. This is a great villain. He's scary, cunning, well acted, the CG ice effects look pretty good for a TV budget, and he's got a really interesting character. He's an extremely driven bad guy with nefarious goals, and he thinks he's doing the right thing, but he's very much about the ends justifying the means, no matter how dark those means get. Honestly, between Icicle and Pat, this episode wasn't half bad. I'm frustrated because it could have and would have been a lot better if it weren't for the stuff with Courtney. I'm frustrated because what should have been Courtney learning a lesson about being too headstrong was framed as if she didn't fail because she was acting like an idiot, she failed because her team wasn't big enough. So right when it looked like she was going to get some badly needed development and start to dial back her arrogance, she just reset back to zero instead. That right now is the show's biggest problem. But if this episode was any indication, the writers do seem to be working on the other problems. So I feel unexpectedly encouraged after this one. And that was Stargirl Episode 3. If you enjoyed this review, leave a comment down below. Also, while you're here, don't forget to ding that bell icon and follow me on Twitter using the link in the description so you'll always be notified about new videos. Like, share, subscribe to help me fend off the YouTube algorithm. Make sure you're still subscribed, because YouTube may have randomly unsubscribed you since the last time you were here, and I'll be back with more very soon. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.